first shelf. How did you want to, like, say this is the shelf. Can you show me with the doll how you push him into the shelf?
By his hand.
So, show me with the doll how you...
Like, push and...
Okay. So, you pushed him with your hand into the shelf. So you pushed him into the shelf on the same side of his head?
Well, I didn't know what side I hit him on.
Okay. Well, did he cry or did he just...
Yeah, he cried.
Did he pass out and go to sleep? That's what he did. Did he do that right away?
Right away that I hit him twice.
So right after you did it twice, he fell asleep?
This is Bianella Susanna, mother of 3 children. Now, she did something that a typical mother won't even think of. Her son lay on the seriously wounded. He was bleeding and unconscious. But what did Bianella do? She turned on her computer and started surfing the internet. First, she downloaded some music. Maybe it was a song she liked or something new she wanted to hear. Then she logged into YouTube. You know how you can get lost watching videos. Well, that's what she did. She checked out some videos, letting time pass while her son was in the other room. Next, she thought about her money. She logged into her online bank account to see how much she had. Maybe she was worried about bills, or maybe she just wanted to know her balance. After checking her bank account, Bianella wanted to read some gossip. She searched for news about Pippa Middleton and Kate Middleton. She read the latest updates about their lives, looking at photos and stories about what they were up to. While doing all this, a thought must have crossed her mind about her son. She made a couple of searches about medical stuff. She looked up concussion and read about what it means and how it happens. She also searched unconscious for hours to find out what to do when someone doesn't wake up for a long time. Even with her son lying there, Bianella spent time on the internet doing these things. It seemed like she was trying to find answers or maybe distract herself. But whatever the case was, the unfortunate boy didn't make it. Now, how did this son get injured that much? Well, it has to do with her other son. But we will get to that in the later part. For now, let's see what exactly happened. So, it started when Susanna was out running errands. She got a call from her 12-year-old son, Cristian Fernandez, around 9 a.m. He said that his little brother David fell from his bunk bed and was now unconscious. Cristian was probably scared, not knowing what to do. Susanna rushed home right away. She must have been worried, thinking about David lying there, not moving. But when she got home, she didn't call a doctor. She didn't take David to the hospital. Hours passed, and she still didn't get medical help for him. From 9 a.m. until about 5:25 p.m., over 7 hours, she didn't do anything to help him. During that period, she conducted online searches for terms such as gets knocked out. Maybe she hoped to find answers online. Finally, she decided to take David to the hospital and call them. When they arrived, David looked so bad. His eyes were rolled in the back of his head. His body was limp. He wore a blue cast on his leg, which was broken. The cast was from another injury he got back in January. His brother Cristian had attacked him then, and Susanna didn't tell the truth about it. She said David got hurt at a playground because she didn't want the Department of Children and Family Services to take her kids away. That time too, she waited 2 days to take David to the hospital for that broken leg.
In January, broken leg, right? And how did that happen?
Oh, I wasn't there. I was inside the house.
Who was there?
All the children. Everybody else was there.
Did they play unsupervised?
Well, I open the window and I look at them.
But you're not watching them?
But I'm not out there.
So you're not watching them? You just have the window open, so if someone screams, you can hear them?
Yeah.
The whole time?
Yeah.
So then if you watched them the whole time, you would see what happened?
Well, I wasn't with my eyes on them the whole time, but
Well, that's what I'm saying. You don't watch them the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here was David at the hospital again, and things looked even worse. The doctors saw how serious his condition was. They decided to life flight him to a local trauma center. But even with all the efforts to save him, David never woke up. He stayed unconscious, and they put him on life support. 2 days later, they had to make a tough decision. They removed David from life support. It was a heartbreaking moment for everyone involved. David didn't survive the injuries from that fall. Susanna's actions during those critical hours raised many questions. Why didn't she call for help right away? What was going through her mind as she searched the internet instead of taking David to a doctor? It's hard to understand what she was thinking. It leaves us wondering about the choices Susanna made and how things might have been different. If she had taken David to the hospital right after the fall, maybe the doctors could have saved him. Perhaps she was hiding something, and that something was related to her other son, Cristian Fernandez. Now, what Susanna did wrong was that she left her kids home alone. She had to go outside, so she left Cristian in charge. Cristian was home with David and their 5-year-old brother. It seems like a normal day at first, just a mom going outside and the kids staying at home. But things took a turn. Susanna got charged with manslaughter. The police arrested her and took her into custody. You might think that's the end of the story, but it's not. The police felt something wasn't right. They decided to dig deeper into what happened. When they searched the house, they found blood in several rooms and areas. This discovery made the police think that there was more to the story. They needed to know what really happened while Susanna was out. Now there was one other person at home when Susanna was outside, and that was her elder son, Cristian Fernandez. The police took Cristian to the station to ask him more questions.
Hi. Okay. So tell me what really happened tonight.
I put him to carry books.
You put him to carry books? Okay, what kind of books?
Like the books that we have on our bookshelves.
Are they big books or little books? Or...
Like a bunch of skinny books.
Okay, so he was carrying them? Does he walk good with that one cast on?
I think he goes with one and normal works with the other.
Okay, so he had books in his arms? And then what happened?
And then they fell on him.
They fell on him as he was carrying?
As he was carrying them.
Where they fell on him at?
On his head and, I don't know.
How did they fall on his head if he was carrying them?
Like this he was carrying them. Because he doesn't know how to carry away.
So then what else happened?
And then they fell on him and then he fell.
Okay. What else happened to him? Because remember we said, so he had his arms up like this with the books? And then the books fell? And what did you see the book fall on?
On his face and part of his head.
Okay. Well, you know, this side of his head is really injured up with a lot of bruising and swelling. So, and his nose is really swollen up. So, it had something else happened that night tonight besides just books falling. So tell me about what else happened at college.
After that happened, I wasn't with him anymore.
Okay, so he never fell off the bunk bed? No, okay.
They wanted to hear his side of the story. Cristian was just a kid, but he had been left in charge. He must have felt scared and confused, sitting in that police station, trying to explain what happened at home. As the police talked to Cristian, they probably tried to make him feel safe so he could tell them everything. They needed to understand why there was blood in so many places. What had gone on in the house while Susanna was away? They asked Cristian about David, about their little brother, and about the day Susanna left. Cristian might have told them about the accident, about how David fell and got hurt, but the blood in different rooms suggested more than just a simple fall. The police needed to know if there had been a fight or if something else had happened. They needed to piece together the events of that day. While all this was happening, Susanna was still in custody. The police continued their investigation, trying to put all the clues together. They had to make sense of the blood they found, as well as Cristian's story. And what came out was a shocking revelation to all. So, after a while, Cristian's story started to change. At first, he kept telling everyone that David fell from the bunk bed. He stuck with that story for a while, but eventually, Cristian decided to tell the truth. He confessed that he got very angry and slammed his brother's head into a bookcase several times.
And I understand that. I can see why it's really hard for you to tell me. But if we do things that are wrong, Cristian, and we feel bad about it, then we need to tell the truth about it. Okay? So tell me what happened tonight. So, what shelf did he hit it on? Where did he hit it on the bookshelf?
On the first one.
On the top or the bottom?
The first one. On the top, there's nothing.
Okay, on the first shelf. How did you want to, like, say this is the shelf. Can you show me with the doll how you pushed him into the shelf?
By his head.
So, show me with the doll how you...
Like, push it.
Okay. So, you pushed him with your hand into the shelf. So, you pushed him into the shelf on the same side of his head?
I didn't know what side I hit him with.
Okay. Well, did he cry or did he just...
Yeah, he cried.
Did he pass out and go to sleep? That's what he did. Did he do that right away?
Right away that I hit him twice.
So right after you did it twice, he fell asleep? Is that all that happened tonight? So how did all the blood get everywhere in the room?
Because when I was dragging him to his bed.
So you dragged him to the bed?
I actually carried him.
Okay. To what bed?
To my brother's bed.
The bottom bunk? Okay. So you carried him to the bottom bunk, and where was he bleeding from?
From his nose.
Okay. Anywhere else?
Like his mouth.
His mouth was bleeding? How long was he like that before you told your mom?
I told my mom right away, but I didn't tell her what happened. I told her something else.
What did you tell her?
That he got hit with the ladder.
When David fell unconscious, Cristian picked him up and put him in his bed. He didn't want to hurt David that badly. Cristian kept asking the police if the doctors could wake him up. He seemed really worried and scared about what he had done.
And so you picked him up?
I carried him and I put him in the bed.
How'd you carry him? Did you carry him like this? Or did you
like this.
Oh, you carried him over your shoulder? Okay.
During the police interview, Cristian made another shocking confession. He told the police that he had also sexually abused his 5-year-old sibling a lot. This new detail added more to the story. The police took Cristian into custody. They charged him as an adult with first-degree murder and sexual assault. The prosecutors believe that Cristian wanted to kill David. They said he repeatedly slammed David's head on the bookshelf. The psychological report from the Meadows interview gave more details. Cristian talked about what happened that day. He claimed that he picked up David and pushed him into the bookcase. David started bleeding and wasn't responding, so Cristian carried him to the bed and called his mom. Cristian kept saying that he didn't plan to kill his brother. He seemed defensive when the police asked what made him so angry. He mentioned having a flashback of the beatings and abuse by his stepfather. This flashback might have triggered his actions. This part of the story shows how complicated things were for Cristian. He was just a kid dealing with so much anger and pain. The abuse from his stepfather haunted him. It made him act out in ways that he didn't fully understand. Susanna became pregnant with Cristian when she was just 11 years old. Fernandez was born in Miami, Florida in 1999. His mother, Bianella Susanna, was just 12 years old when she gave birth to him. Cristian's father was 25 years old and got 10 years probation for sexually assaulting Susanna. When Cristian was just 2 years old, things took a turn for the worse. Both he and his mother went into foster care. Authorities found Cristian dirty, naked, and wandering the streets at 4 a.m. near a motel. His grandmother was supposed to be taking care of him, but they found him surrounded by cocaine. It was a terrible situation for such a young child. In 2007, when Cristian was 8, the Department of Children and Families started looking into another serious incident. They got a report that an older cousin had sexually assaulted him. Officials also noted other troubling things in Cristian's life. He had killed a kitten. He was acting out bad things with his classmates. He even attempted to engage in sexual simulation with a classmate. Sometimes he would even masturbate at school. Cristian had a hard time dealing with his feelings. He once told a counselor, "You gotta suck up feelings and get over it." It showed how much he struggled inside. Cristian's life was filled with hardships from a young age. He faced violence and instability at home. Moving from place to place and dealing with different caregivers made it hard for him to find any sense of normalcy. In school, Cristian's behavior worried his teachers and counselors. He acted out and struggled with his emotions. The incidents with his classmates and the kitten showed how much pain he was carrying. His comment to the counselor about sucking up feelings showed that he didn't know how to deal with everything he felt inside. By October 2010, Cristian and his mother were living with a new husband, Luis Galarraga. The move to live with his mother's new husband was another attempt to find stability. However, the level of violence in his life remained unchanged. Things didn't get any better. His stepfather Luis also started mistreating and sexually abusing him almost immediately. The harsh treatment was detrimental on Cristian. He was just a little boy dealing with so much pain. Then one day, Cristian got a severe eye injury. It was so bad that his school sent him to the hospital to check for retinal damage. Cristian told the officers that his stepfather had punched him. The officers went to the family's apartment to investigate. When they got there, they found the stepfather dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. When Luis learned about the warrant, he did something terrible. He shot himself in the head. He did this in front of David and the 5-year-old. It was a traumatic event for the whole family. After this tragic incident, Susanna decided to move her family to Jacksonville. They needed a new start, away from all the pain and memories. In Jacksonville, Cristian went to 6th grade at Kernan Middle High School. Despite everything that had happened to him, he was a straight-A student. He worked hard in school and did really well. His teachers probably saw him as a bright and capable student. This was a bit of hope in his difficult life. Susanna became a mother when she was still a child herself. She faced abandonment, harsh treatment, and tragedy, but she kept going. Moving to Jacksonville was a way to try and find a better life for her and her kids. Cristian's success in school was a sign that maybe things could get better, but they have to pass through a more tragic end. So, after that happened, the case went to court. Susanna pleaded guilty to manslaughter. The judge listened to her story and decided not to send her to jail. Instead, she got 10 years of probation. In court, Susanna admitted that Cristian had a terrible life. She said that she should have been a better mother. This was a tough moment for her, standing there and admitting her mistakes. Cristian's case was more complicated. The judge dismissed his confession.
Before we start talking, I have to read you your rights, okay? Because you have the right to talk to me or the right not to talk to me, okay? So I have to go over this paper with you, and then when we're finished, if you're willing to talk, then you'll just sign the bottom and I'll sign the bottom also, okay? And then I'll explain to you everything that I need to talk to you about, okay?
The judge said Cristian didn't understand his Miranda rights when the police questioned him. With that confession, the prosecutors didn't have enough evidence to charge him with sexual assault. So the sexual assault charge was dropped, but the first-degree murder charge remained. Cristian's trial was different. The courtroom was filled with people watching, and the lawyers presented their cases. Cristian sat there listening to everything. The prosecutors talked about what happened to David and how Cristian was involved. They tried to show that Cristian was responsible for his brother's death. The defense lawyers argued that Cristian didn't mean to kill his brother. They talked about Cristian's tough life and the abuse he had suffered. They said Cristian was just a kid who didn't fully understand what he was doing. They asked the judge to consider Cristian's age and the difficult experiences he had gone through. In the end, the jury found Cristian guilty of first-degree murder as an adult. However, the judge decided to give him a juvenile life sentence. This means Cristian wouldn't face the same penalties as an adult, but he would still be held responsible for his actions. After the trial, Susanna and Cristian went their separate ways. Susanna started her probation, trying to rebuild her life. She had to check in with her probation officer regularly and follow all the rules set by the court. It was a long road ahead for her. Cristian went to a juvenile detention center. He had to adjust to life there, learning to follow the rules and get along with other kids.
Today, a local 19-year-old was set free from a juvenile lockup after serving time for beating his 2-year-old half-brother to death.
This is video of Cristian Fernandez during a court hearing back in 2012. He was just 12 years old when he was charged with murdering his brother in March of 2011. Today, we did not see Fernandez leave court, but as News 4 Jax reporter Janice Harris explains, his case is not over. She's joining us live. Janice.
Mary, no, his case is not over as his probation has been delayed here at the Duval County Courthouse. So we know that even if we don't see him, we will see his attorneys again. But this case has also had an overall impact on the legal system of how children are prosecuted for very serious crimes such as murder. As a 12-year-old boy, Cristian Fernandez was facing a murder charge for killing his 2-year-old brother, but he would later plead guilty to a reduced charge of manslaughter. Since his case, prosecuting a child for murder has changed in Florida. Attorney Randy Reep, not affiliated with the case, says no matter how harsh the crime, children are different.
There has overall been a reduction through most all the circuits in the last 2 to 3 years. Did Cristian Fernandez himself have that impact? I don't know, but certainly it brought uniquely to the forefront why children are simply different.
We know that Cristian Fernandez has been here at the St. John's Youth Academy. We've been anticipating him walking through that gate, but we've also been told by officials that we will probably never see him. Last week, Fernandez's attorneys and the state agreed to delay the terms of his probation. The specific reason has not been released. We don't know what he plans to do with his life after today. Through court documents and reports, we know his mother, Bianella Susanna, lived a difficult life too. She was abused and was pregnant with Fernandez as a teen. Today, she has overcome the tragedies of her past and is helping other girls do the same. As for her son, 19-year-old Fernandez, he can move forward with his life too after being severely abused, the death of his brother, and living in the juvenile court system for several years. But no one knows how challenging life will be for him.
When he was released from juvenile detention in July 2018, he was 19 years old. His release came with a lot of conditions. He had to serve 8 years of probation. If he violated any of the conditions, he could get arrested again. This meant that he had to be very careful about following all the rules. One of the key conditions was that he had to stay away from his siblings unless they wanted to meet with him. Cristian had another half-brother and a sister. This rule was to ensure everyone's safety and to give his siblings the choice of seeing him or not. It must have been hard for Cristian, knowing he couldn't see his family freely. Another important condition was that Cristian couldn't spend unsupervised time with anyone under 16 unless his probation officer approved it. This rule was put in place to protect younger kids and to make sure Cristian was always in a safe environment. Cristian also had to look for a job when he became eligible. Finding a job was an important step for him to rebuild his life. It gave him a chance to start fresh and learn new skills. Working could help him stay on the right path and give him a sense of purpose. The judges set these conditions to help Cristian reintegrate with society while keeping a close watch on him. If Cristian followed all the rules and conditions, the judge could terminate his probation after 5 years. This meant that by the time he was 24, Cristian could be free from probation if he stayed out of trouble and followed all the guidelines. Now he is out of jail, but still, life on probation isn't easy for him either. Cristian had to check in regularly with his probation officer. he had to be careful about his actions and decisions that day. Each step he took was monitored to make sure he was adhering to the conditions set by the court. Living with these restrictions is a constant reminder of his past, but it also offered him a chance to prove that he could change. Cristian had to work hard to show that he could live a good, responsible life. The journey is tough, but he had to keep it going, knowing that each day brought him closer to freedom. To sum up, the story of Bianella Susana and her son Cristian Fernandez is one of profound hardship and complex emotions. Bianella, a mother at a very young age, faced immense challenges and made questionable decisions that deeply affected her children. Cristian, growing up in an environment filled with neglect and abuse, struggled with his emotions and actions. His life took a tragic turn with the death of his brother David, leading to his own legal troubles and time in juvenile detention. Upon his release, Cristian faced strict probation conditions that aimed to help him reintegrate into society while ensuring safety. This journey highlights the importance of understanding, support, and the possibility of redemption. Cristian's path remains difficult, but each step forward brings hope for a better future, underscoring the resilience of the human spirit and the potential for change. And with that, this video has come to an end. Thank you for watching and following the story of Bianella Susana and Cristian Fernandez with us. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe to our channel for more in-depth stories and real-life cases. We'd love to hear from you, so let us know in the comments what case you think we should cover next. Your suggestions help us bring the content you want to see. See you in the next video.